Hey guys, it is Admin. Welcome to an update for the Swords Datapack. Your support on the previous two videos has been amazing. We've had almost 6,000 downloads of the pack, and that has been truly awesome. So, along with a couple members on my Discord, we came up with some new sword ideas. We have 25 in total, and I'm going to be adding 5 at a time, so we have 5 updates planned. Today we're going to be looking at version 1.2. If you haven't already seen the swords videos, I would go check them out. There's an iCard to the first one in the top right of your screen right now. That covers the first 8 swords, and there's another one which covers the second 8 swords. And then in today's video we're going to cover the Obsidian Sword, the Slime Sword, the Quartz Sword, the Emerald Sword, and the Prismarine Sword. And just real quick, I wanted to give a massive shout out to my awesome patron supporters. They helped come up with some of the ideas for these. And if you didn't know, anyone donating at least $1 a month on Patreon receives early access to data packs like these. Currently version 1.2 and 1.3 have been available there for a couple of weeks. So if you're wanting to support me with maybe just $1 a month, I would greatly appreciate it, and it would really do a lot to support the channel. But anyway, on to the video. So let's start with the Obsidian Sword. As always, we need a custom crafter. To make that, we need a dropper, and we place it facing upwards and drop a crafting table on top. As you can see, we now have a lovely texture made by Zoe, linked to her channel in the iCard right now. So let's start by crafting the Obsidian Sword. It is crafted with a stick and 2 pieces of obsidian, just like you would expect. Alright, so what does this actually do? Well, it gives us a sword that has fairly low durability, but does a lot of damage. If we summon in a trusty test dummy cow, you can see we can one-hit kill it. So, quite a powerful sword. However, as you can notice, the durability is already falling off. It has a wooden sword durability of 60. However, this has the effect that the more damage it gets, the less damage it will deal. The idea is obsidian is really sharp, but as it is used, it will become less useful. So let's summon in a mob that actually has health. It should take 2 hits to kill it. But, as we keep doing it, now it took 3. And after doing this a little bit more, we'll see it will start taking 4 hits to kill it. So the damage will slowly decrease over time the more, or I guess the less durability the sword has. And this means that it starts off being fairly powerful, but it really quickly depreciates and eventually actually becomes much weaker than a regular sword. So, real quick, I want to take this opportunity to talk about my philosophy when actually designing these swords. I want to make a sword that has some unique ability to it, so it cannot just be increased damage or increased durability, because that is boring. But I also want something that isn't blatantly overpowered, so it needs some sort of positive trait and maybe a negative trait. So in this case, the positive trait is that it does a ton of damage. The negative trait is that it has low durability, and that the damage decreases over time. But there's a little bit more to consider when making a sword like this, and that is that enchantments exist. So, if I have a sword that deals 10 damage, and then I put sharpness 5 on it, now it's going to be blatantly broken. Especially with mending, that just breaks everything, because it will do way too much damage, and the negative effect of not dealing as much damage as it gets damaged, or lower durability, doesn't ever apply because I'm always going to be at full health with mending. So that being said, if we actually look at this, you can see there is no damage indicator on this. That's because the sword itself deals 0 damage. So what this means is that sharpness will not actually increase the attack damage at all. You can put it on there, but it's still going to deal 0 damage. So an obsidian sword at full health deals 10 damage. A diamond sword with sharpness 5 deals more than 10 damage. So this doesn't replace a diamond sword in any way. It just gives you a more early game opportunity for a pretty quick and simple sword once you've gotten Obsidian, of course. Okay, sorry, that was a bit long-winded, but let's jump to the next one. And by jump, I mean jump, because we're looking at the slime sword. To craft it, we need a stick, as always, and 2 slime blocks. So that gives us a sword that swings really slowly, because it is quite sticky, and it has the ability to bounce foes into the air. It only deals 2 damage, so it's not that powerful of a weapon, but if we get our trusty test dummy cow and we smack him, you'll see he gets thrown pretty high up into the air and dies of fall damage. It is fairly powerful because of that, but as it's fall damage, it will not work on every mob in the game. For example, we have a blaze here, and if I hit this, well, what have I done? I have doomed myself to having it just fly away and shoot me, and now I'm probably going to die. I'll of course be testing these out in survival mode more extensively and looking to balance them if they are determined to be too overpowered. The slime sword, it can deal a fair amount of damage in fall damage, but because the base damage is so low, it won't actually deal much in melee damage. And the fact that it has 2 slime blocks in it does make the recipe somewhat more expensive. Alright, on to the next sword, that is the Quartz Sword. This can be crafted with a stick and 2 quartz blocks. Alright, so let's test out the Quartz Sword with a trusty testing cow, and you will see we have a sword that pretty much is useless. I mean, it took how many hits to kill this cow? So that's because the Quartz Sword is actually only powerful in the Nether. In the overworld and the end, it deals 0 damage, so the same as me punching. However, in the Nether, it is quite the formidable sword. So let's head to the Nether. Stepping through the portal, we are now in the Nether, so let's summon a cow and try it out here. You'll see it does a lot more damage, and it plays a critical hit sound effect and has some green sparks appear. That shows that it does critical damage here. And if we summon a husk, you'll see it is a very powerful weapon. Again, because the base damage is 0, enchanting this won't actually increase the damage, so we cannot ever get it to one-shot mobs, but it is fairly powerful at least being able to two-shot them. So with my balancing philosophy in mind, you can see that this is balanced in my opinion because it is useful in one situation, but extremely not useful in the other. So let's check out the next sword. These two are kind of along similar lines, so let's look at the Emerald Sword, and then finally we'll wrap up with the Prism Rain Sword. You can craft the Emerald Sword with 2 emeralds and a stick. The Emerald Sword is kind of where I mixed my philosophy to have a sword that is useful in most situations, but more useful in specific ones. It does 4 damage, the same as a wooden sword, so not particularly useful, but not terrible either. However, against raiders, such as pillagers, evokers, witches, and other mobs such as those, it deals massive damage. That would be 4 plus 8, so 12 damage. Testing that out, we can summon a cow, and you will see it is a wooden sword attack damage, so not particularly useful, but still good enough that you can use it as a weapon. Trying this out on a pillager, you can see we get the green sparkles and a critical hit sound, and we can vanquish this foe in 2 hits. If I do a critical hit, I cannot quite two-shot it. However, this one could actually be enchanted with sharpness, and you could definitely get it to be able to one-shot pillagers, which is something that a diamond sword will not be able to do. Let's try it out on an evoker. You can see we can kill this guy extremely quickly, but it won't actually work very nicely on the Vex that it spawns, as they are technically not raiders. And moving on, we finally get to the Prismarine Sword. This is crafted slightly differently than the others. We need a stick, a Prismarine brick, and a Prismarine shard. The Prismarine Sword is a similar idea to the Quartz Sword in that it is extremely powerful in one situation, but almost useless in most others. As you can see, it also deals 0 damage. But any mobs that are underwater will receive the critical damage. So just like the Quartz Sword, this deals the same amount of damage as your fist, and so killing just a cow will take quite a few swings. However, if we head over to water, we can try out the effects of it. I went with the opposite approach as a trident has. Instead of giving you special powers if you are in water, I made it so mobs that are in water will receive more damage. So if I summon a cow, you can see I can now one-hit kill it. But that's not due to me being in water, that's due to it being in water. So we can demonstrate that by me being in the water and nothing happens. But if I summon the cow in the water and then myself jump out, I get the critical damage. This of course also works on hostile mobs, and I think it could be useful for perhaps raiding like an ocean monument, or if you live underwater, I don't know. Maybe against like drowns and stuff you could also find some use. Overall though, it is extremely cheap, just made out of Prismarine, and so I don't feel like it really needs to be that useful. Anyway, those were the 5 swords added by version 1.2 of the Swords Datapack. I have a whole lot more to come, so make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and leave your comment below for what swords you want added, and I'll consider adding them. Just make sure that there's something special about your idea. Maybe it deals weird knockback, or it does something random. Anyway, that's all I got, so I'll see you guys all in the next video. Thanks for watching!